Hi, I'm Matt, and the the lovely handsome gentleman there is Matt. We are
Hi.
hi. This is the What's My Age Again podcast, and we're here to help you tackle some of the very big problems that have been bothering us recently. Um, we're both early, very early, almost 20s, early 30s. We are, uh,
Yeah.
and unfortunately, we are. What would you say, Matt? We're being betrayed by our own bodies.
We are, yeah. We're being let down by our own bodies and natural causes. It seems.
Yeah, time is passing quite quickly, much quicker than I personally am comfortable with. But so we're just gonna have a chat about it and see if we can put a few worries to bed, shall we say?
Yeah, and let people know that they're not alone in this crazy world of 30s life,
Sure.
because it's a scary one, but we're all in this together. So we're going to try and tackle some of them, some big questions, and some of the things that probably worry you about entering your 30s, or like at least dealing with it in your 30s. So yeah, that's what we're here for. I mean, it's good. We spoke about this idea a few months back, didn't we? And we really wanted to get it off the ground by the end of the year, but with the whole COVID-19 thing, we figured that best way to kind of pass the time is to have a drink and talk about it and get the ball rolling.
This is it. I mean, in relation to some of the more major worries that everyone's got at the moment, uh, it'd be nice for ours to seem quite trivial, won't it? Uh,
Yeah, It's best to give people a bit of a giggle and not to worry about maybe the impending doom that might be outside the door.
it is.
So
Just a quick disclaimer as well, while we're on camera. That isn't that's not the colour of the light bulbs I've got in my house. That is not my normal skin colour. Unfortunately, I got quite badly sunburnt yesterday because I had the audacity to sit in the garden for 35 to 40 minutes, and I have become somewhat cherry red. So,
didn't you explain it as being one of them sweets? What are them sweets called?
the drumstick
The
squishies.
squishy.
Yeah,
I
got
thought that was a fantastic way of explaining it, because looking at you now, yeah, that pretty
this
much
is
makes
it,
sense.
and I mean, I've got a top on, but I've got quite the tan line. This is the uh, yeah. It's not overly dignified, if I'm being honest, Matt.
Well, well, this is a big question. Did you put any suntan cream on?
I mean, I'd really rather not talk about it. Uh,
Oh, Matt, come on, man! Like, men in our situation, which we're going to be talking about on this podcast as part of it, like, you should never be going out without suntan when it's nice, because it's especially you. Like, no offense, but
whoa, whoa.
the complex does not help your situation at all in the heat. So you're being brave anyway, leaving the outside, let alone not putting any suntan lotion on. Crazy man.
I mean, part of the problem was it was windy. It felt cooler than it was. By the time, by the time I realised it was far too late, and then I gradually changed colour over the next 2 or 3 hours, sat in the house. Um, culminating in at one point, I mean, to an outside observer, I might have looked like I was going to pop. It just got redder and redder.
Just ginger everywhere.
This is it, and it's a big head as well. If it popped, it's a living room
I wouldn't
ruined.
say you've got. I wouldn't say you've got that much of a big head. I would say you've got like an average size head
You
for
reckon?
a man of your age and size.
I see. It's not
No, like
necessarily a big head. You are
no, you
just
just
a fat man.
it's in proportion. No, no, you're in proportion for your build. That's all. I'm not. Hey, Matthew, you've made good strides in the time I've known you. So don't take anything else but a compliment from that, please.
Thank you very much. I think that brings us on quite nicely to what we're actually talking about today as our main
Yes.
topic of conversation, though.
Mm, yeah.
Luckily enough, I only really recently started suffering from this in the last couple of years. But I've got friends who have had this affliction, this curse, since their early 20s. We are of course talking about male pattern baldness. Yeah, just the
This.
the
Yeah. It's a. I'm not gonna lie to you. When we started talking about what we're going to talk about in this podcast and topics we went into, this one was the most. This one cut me deep. It really did. And what I will do actually is when I do into post production, I'm going to show you the difference of me in my early 20s and like early teens to like now as a comparison of why this was such a heartbreaking thing for me. And I obviously want the same for you, so we can pop that in and we can get people a comparison of what we like with our flowing locks. But yeah, this was a devastating thing to happen to me personally. I don't know about you, but it was horrible.
Yeah, I mean, this is it, especially because, I mean, I know yourself as well. You're into, not to sound like an incredibly old man, but you're into your rock and roll and your heavy metal with your headbangers and like in my teens, I had hair down to me like down here, like shoulder level. It was.
Oh really? Wow, that's a good level.
Curly as well. It was very much almost ringlets. Like it was big. Like you're talking. I'll find you a picture.
I'm thinking. You know what I'm picturing? Excuse me. I'm picturing the. I'm picturing the singer from. Oh god, it's really going to annoy me that I can't remember the guy singing. I can't remember the name of the band. Pearl Jam. I'm just thinking like Pearl Jam, big shaggy hair, like big curly shaggy hair. Is that right?
Yeah, there was quite a lot of it, and the thing is as well, as you know, I enjoy an outlandish, like almost a novelty hat. So it was very much once the big hair, a comedy hat occasionally. It's a wonder I got anywhere in life, rather than sectioned. But yeah, it's so when it finally caught up with me, the gradual losing of the hair, it's a painful experience, and I feel like you've got to dive straight into it because unfortunately, the longer you leave it, the worse it is. I found anyway.
Yeah, I'll tell you about when it kind of sunk in and when it got to become a problem in a bit. But I want to know what happened to you and like at what age did you realise that it might be a problem going forward? Like, do you have like a genetic thing? Be your parents who kind of suffer from the same? Well, your parents. I mean, your father suffered from the same thing, or is it one of those things where you were like, oh, let's just try and just keep the ball rolling and just see what happens?
So my dad has he is going bald, but he is less bald than me, which is incredibly infuriating when he's 30 years older than me, and you know he's there he's there with his still relatively full head of hair in comparison to myself. But because I'm so my main problem with the entire concept is because I've been into punk rock, skate punk, whatever you want to call it, for 20 years or so now. I can't have a Mohican anymore. That is not a thing that I can do anymore.
Yeah.
And when I was younger, I had a few. I mean, I've had some ridiculous haircuts, like I said, but I used to have Mohican. Up until very recently, I had an undercut, looking like your man from Vikings, which was,
all right.
Yeah, I mean, again, possibly not the greatest choice I've ever made, but I did enjoy it at the time. And again, I was walking, so I'd been out to the pub, enjoying myself as you do. I'd gone back to my friend's house. I was walking home at about 6 o'clock in the morning. It's very, very, very windy. And the top of my hair, or the top of my head, should I say, was flapping about like. Are you familiar with Beaker from the Muppets?
Of course, yeah.
Yeah. So I got home, still being a little bit drunk. I thought, I can't be doing with that. Shaved that off, and then realised I could never grow it back.
Whoa, no, that's an awful realization. Like, How long did it take you to realize that you were never going to grow that back?
Problem is, the beauty of an undercut, Matt, is often it works as a comb over or a comb back, should I say?
Yeah.
Because your hair's just going backwards, you don't necessarily know that it's thinning on top. You've got. But now, if I was to try and grow my hair out, I've got to go through a period where it is very, very noticeable.
Ooh, yeah. That's a. Could you not just wear a hat all the time?
Probably not. But
what about a bald cap and then just kind of like makeup it in so people don't realise? People think you're just like pure bald, and then like 6 months down the line, like whip it off and like, whew, all kinds of luscious locks.
Yeah. The danger of that is what happens if, for instance, you pick a bandana. Yeah. And I am going somewhere with this. Don't worry about it. What happens if you pick a bandana to cover up the top of your head while you're growing your hair? Then you take the bandana off 6 months later, and you've got that Hulk Hogan thing going on.
Oh no, we don't want that.
Well, this is like.
I mean, it's a cool, brother, but I'm not sure if it's acceptable these days.
I feel like it's not acceptable if you're not 6'6" and 300 pounds or whatever he is. Like, no one's told him. No one has told him that is not. That it's not an appropriate look because he's a giant blonde.
No. Plus, it's a wrestling legend that you would never even now you wouldn't be trying to step on his toes and like calling him out on anything, would you?
No, he's a big lad. He's a big lad. He's Terry.
Yeah. He's called Terry.
So, what about yourself then? When was the the decision or realization, shall we say?
Right. Well, I from a very young age, not very young age, from like my year 10 of high school, so we're talking 15, 16, something like that. I went through a phase of dyeing my hair every colour under the sun. I've had blonde. I'll try and edit little pictures of things so people can see. Blonde, red, blue, black, like every colour you can think of. I've tried to dye my hair. Obviously that doesn't help, but then I also used to wear a lot of hats all the time, and obviously that doesn't help if you wear a hat all the time. I have two brothers. I'm the middle one of three brothers. They both somehow got my mother's hairline, and myself only got my dad's hairline, which is awful. And like, I love my dad. I love my dad to bits, but I will never forgive him for blessing me. And blessing, I mean, cursing me with this hairline. I will never forgive him. So I kind of, my mum told me you're gonna lose your hair pretty quickly, so you probably shouldn't be dyeing it so much. And I was like, I'd be right. I got loads of hair. And then 21, I started working at the pub that me and you both work at now. You work there full time, I work part time. That's how we know each other. I started working there, and I remember seeing a picture of myself behind the bar, leaning over, and there was a light that used to be like used to be shelves above the bar, so it lights would be like down lights would be all across the bar. I remember seeing a picture of me leaning across the bar, and like this light shined down on my head, and literally you could almost see my forehead. I had jet black hair at the time, but quite a lot of it was like kind of combed over. See photo inserted here. I used to have quite a lot of hair, but I always comb it over because it was kind of like the look that I'd go for. I'd have a comb there, and it'd be like up there, so up at the back, comb at the front. So that was my hairstyle for, I'd say, about 12 years, and it just got more and more difficult throughout my 20s to kind of keep that going. And this was the most heartbreaking thing. I remember one time I was outside a bar for where I'm from, and I was talking to this guy who I've known for a very long time, like a friend of a friend. We're not like proper close or anything like that, but he's a proper nice guy. It's called Paul Caton. And we were having a conversation, and like half into the conversation, he just looked at me and went, "Mate, what are you doing?" And I was like, "Sorry, what?" And he was like, "You are trying your hardest to keep this going, aren't you?" And I was like, "Sorry, I thought he meant the conversation." He was like, "No, your hair, man. Like, you're pulling it from all kinds of directions to try and keep it look like you're not going bald." But, I mean, I'd had that hairstyle for years, but it got more to the point where I think I was doing that. I was doing, like, the angles of the fringe were more keeping to making sure that people couldn't see the fact that I was like going further and further up. And then it was going a lot thinner on top. And it was like, why are you keeping this going? Just shave it off. And I think I was 20, must have been only 26 at this point. And it was a stage where I was thinking, no, I can't do it, because if I do it, then it's never going to grow back, just like you said.
Yep.
So I just kind of avoided it for a while. But I have this thing, right? This is very, very strange, and it's not really related to hair. Well, it is related to hair things, but it's not related to like our topic. But if you're in a relationship and the relationship ends, I have this weird philosophy that if the relationship ends, you just shave your head, and it's kind of like a signature of the start of a new like chapter of my life, essentially. So if I ever get out of a long-term relationship, I always shave my head.
Yeah.
And that kind of happened around 26, 25, I think. I think it must have been, by that time. So I shaved my head, and I was like, this has to be the last time now, because if I do it again after this, it's never going back. So I was like, right, let's just give it one last go. We'll go out in a blaze of glory. We'll just grow it and see how long it sticks. And then I think I got to just before my 30th birthday, and I was like, I kept seeing photos of myself, and it didn't help the fact that I was a bit bigger back then. I had a bit more weight on me. I just kept looking at it and thinking, God, it just looks truly awful, because I was still trying to keep the same haircut and still trying to like maintain the fact that I could get away with it, and it just looked ridiculous. So I was like, I'll tell you what, I'm just going to trim it down a bit and see if I can get away with it being a bit shorter. And then I'd see pictures or see like Instagram stories of myself and be like, wow, in like certain lights, it just looks like it does now. But I was trying to get away with the fact I thought I had a full head of hair, and I was just like, no, this is really bad. So just one day I went, whoop, just shaved it all off, and that was it. And not gonna lie to you, it was a bit of a tearful moment. I was a bit devastated, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I mean,
it's heartbreaking, but that was it.
So I've got a bit of a confession here.
Oh, right.
So I was out with a friend of mine and a friend of his. Right. I won't mention any names in case it is nowhere near as serious as I thought it is, but I feel bad about this to this day.
Okay.
And this was 5 years ago, 6 years ago, perhaps. Sat there. I'd had quite a lot to drink. We'd all had quite a lot to drink, to be fair.
Mm-hmm.
And I turned to my friend, assuming that his friend couldn't hear what I was saying, and had the same conversation with my friend.
Oh no!
His friend needed to shave his hair because and I can distinctly remember saying, "Yeah, no, you can see through it that he needs to make a decision. He's going to like have a word with him because it don't look great." And I can distinctly remember having that conversation. And then there was a lull in the conversation. The day after, I saw the friend of a friend, and he had completely bicked his head. Yeah.
That was you. That was all you.
I don't know. And I really feel like, because he's a nice guy. I quite like, he's all right, you know. And he looks miles better now. So.
Yeah.
I mean, I could claim that I'd done a good thing there, but perhaps.
Now he'd probably look at it and think, oh, that's the best decision I ever made. But at that point, he might have thought, oh, man, like that, this guy's called me out on it. Like, it felt the way I did when my friend Paul called me out of it. Because I remember going home being like, well, I can't say that I remember going home, but I remember that time thinking, fuck, that was brutal.
Yeah. I mean, it's not great, is it? But
No, definitely not. But it's the leap that you need to take. It's a leap that you need to take, and I think, well, I feel better for it now, and I don't know about you, but not having to worry about it is a great thing.
Yeah.
And to be fair, like if you think about it a lot now, especially in like in the kind of culture that we live in now, especially now with the fact we're going through this isolation thing, with everyone shaving their heads because like no one can maintain a haircut now, so we're all going to look exactly the same. So everyone's being dragged down to our level now. But I find it. I think it's great the fact there's so many mine was mainly for like a vanity point of view. Like I thought that people obviously it makes look older. I don't think it's as attractive as a wider spread thing with girls. But then I think about the kind of people that still who are bald who still manage to like who still like really attractive guys. Like you've got The Rock, obviously, who's obviously been bald for a very long time, like Jason Statham, and like countless other guys. So it's not like it's a hindrance anymore. I just feel like it's a bit of a relief, if you know what I mean.
Well, yeah. When I do it, I do pick my head because it irritates me when it's growing out.
Yeah.
But in an ideal world, I'd pick my head fairly regularly. I do it about once a week. Wanted to do it yesterday, burnt my head, can't. So unfortunately, I will be looking a little bit shabby and bright red for a couple of days at least.
However long it takes.
Yeah, sorry, I've got some aloe vera. It's fine. But like you said, there's it's not an unpopular look, is it? I mean, there's a lot of bald,
No, definitely not.
a lot of bald heartthrobs, shall we say?
Heartthrob, that's a good way of explaining it. Yeah.
Yeah, like you said, there's The Rock. There's Vin Diesel, who is a poor man's The Rock. Bruce Willis.
No offense, Vin. Like we're not dissing you in the slightest.
Like, legit, don't come and find me because you could, you don't.
Because you could, and you would stand a chance, pal.
I know. Well, this is it.
Career over.
No, that's like me and Vin Diesel get on. Was bald, play D&D. It's cool. But yeah,
D&D.
Yeah, it's like Bruce Willis. He's cracking on. He's been
Bruce,
bald.
yeah.
So.
Of course. Yeah, like how old was Bruce Willis when he did like the Die Hard? He must have been in his 30s at that point.
Yeah. I mean, and then there's like Patrick Stewart. Not that,
of course, yeah.
Not that we'll just sit here and list famous bald people, but
maybe let's stay away from that. Because it could be 8 hours. Just listing all the famous bald people we know.
Well, yeah, I mean, see. Now, my concern is a very, very good friend of mine isn't going bald, but tattooed his head. He has tattooed his head, and he looks well with it because he's a scary fella, you know. But if he does go bald at some point,
yeah,
then he doesn't have the option to grow his hair out and cover it up. It's you got the big old head tattoo.
Oh, yeah, that's a choice, though. I mean, Travis Barker did the same thing, and that's obviously that's his thing. He wanted to have a tattooed head. If you're gonna have a tattooed head, you got to commit to it. You got to stay bald. I mean, what would be the point in changing that?
I don't know. I feel like you know, funerals, weddings, christenings. It's nice to have the option in it. But anyway,
top hat,
bonnet because it comes down.
Or a flat cap. Flat cap would be nice.
You know what? I love a flat cap. Absolutely love one.
I know you love a flat cap, Matt. I'm pretty sure that if you grabbed something close to you right now, you'd probably be able to put one on.
Oh, it's a flat cap right there.
There we go. Hey.
I feel like you got to do it. I mean, realistically, I should have been wearing a flat cap yesterday. I wouldn't have had a bald head, big burn bald head.
You'd have had a really hot head though, with a black flat cap on though. You'd have had the hottest head known to man. been hotter than the sun.
Yeah, but you see, that's the trick in it. You get a flat cap for all outfits, different colours,
Would you ever go backward flat cap?
like LL Cool J.
Yeah, would you that look?
No, you see, I think the problem is if you, if you're above a certain size, there are things that just instantly make you look ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like, I would say a fat fella in a backwards flat cap and and a Hawaiian shirt. It's not a good look. I look like I'm stealing dinosaur embryos or something like that. Sweet Dennis Nedry reference there.
Brilliant.
But yeah, no, I feel like it's forward or out, isn't it?
Yeah.
Which is good advice. Lifestyle advice as well.
This podcast is part of the That Thing You Might Like network. Here's something you might like. Find us on socials at TTYL Network.
I've got another unfortunate story for you.
Go on.
Because obviously, knowing we were going to be talking about this, I had a quick ask around. Got a bit of a going bald horror story.
Oh yeah, this is. See, I did the same thing. I put on a bit of post on the Facebook, reaching out to fellow men of our stature, just tried to see if there's any other stories that we could go for. So I've got a few here as well. So let's go to your story first, and then I'll hit you with one of mine, and then yeah, let's delve into other people's unfortunate misery as well.
This is it. I mean, I'm not. If I'm going down, I'm never going down alone. I'm not. We'll all burn. It's fine. So, a friend of mine, he says that this was when he was about 17 or 18. Which, I mean, checks out. I've known him 10 years and he's been very, very bald for the entirety of it. But he was at a festival. You can probably remember them from last year when we were allowed festivals. So yeah, he was at Download Festival with a group of friends, a couple of people he knew, a couple of people he didn't, a couple of ladies there.
Oh yeah,
he was trying to be friendly, trying to be a little bit cool, blah blah blah. They were talking about how cold they were because it's in a field. And he said, "No worries, I can lend you my hat." Passed a young lady his hat, who looked in it before putting it on her head, presumably for traps. Then said out loud to the group, "Oh wow, there's a lot of hair in this hat." Looked at him and then went, "Oh." And he said there was nothing he could say about it. Obviously, he was going bald and all his hair had ended up inside his hat. But what he didn't need was this young lady pointing it out to a group.
So, Matt, like I said, I put out a little Facebook post yesterday and asking for further people to join in with the podcast, and we obviously want you guys to do the same thing. Matt is going to give you the details of how to do that after we spoke about this and what we're going to talk about in the next podcast. And we want you guys to get in contact with us and give us your stories or give us some sort of input, opinions and all that kind of stuff about the topic. But this one, obviously, we're talking about going bald. So a friend of a friend is a friend of, he's a brother of a really good friend of mine, right? So he's called Gareth, or Gaz, as more commonly known to our friends. And he said, searching through the old memory banks for an amusing tale, he said, and there was only one that he could think of that was the most, funny. And he said, he said that his dad went bald, like full Bobby Charlton bald, in his early 20s, right? But for him, he said it was his late 20s, and he'd been receding for years, but got tired of maintaining a serious ponytail. Now, I vaguely remember seeing pictures of the guy, and he did like have a full-on ponytail. I'm talking like, I think not as bad as Paul Heyman. Remember Paul Heyman with the ponytail? He had a really long ponytail though. Like, I don't think it was as bad on the top, but he had a really, really long one, and he went down to his ass at one point. It says, it goes down to his ass at one point. Very impressive. Like, he was a big rocker like ourselves, and he said perhaps hair loss came down to a lot of stress, but he said probably more because he wasn't looking after himself. And he said he remembers partial clumps of it being on his pillow in the morning, like your friend at Download. He said he was living in Malaysia at the time, right? And he said he remember getting it all ripped off in some random mega cheap barbers where the guy had a Hoover/Clipper combo. I mean, it shaved and vacuumed the whole time. Tied at number one. He said it looked rough, but was glad I did it in hindsight. But like, imagine it gets to the point where you're in a different country, and it's getting to the point where it's that bad where you're having to have it combed off and then hoovered at the same time because it's that long.
I feel like that the Clipper Hoover combo is it's like something off Star Trek. It's the future's now. The future is now, Matt.
Yeah, that's brilliant. But I mean, that's. I mean, there was another one where some guy sent me called Tim Eyre. I think he was in the year above me in high school. He sent me like a little thing where he said that he was in some sort of accident and he scraped the top of his head, so we had to have a skin graft. But obviously, the skin graft was from a place that didn't grow the hair, so he literally couldn't grow the hair back at that point. Which again, that sounds mental, absolutely mental. I mean, that's out your hands, really. I mean, I've not seen the guy recently. I don't know what he looks like now, but I mean, I'm assuming he could have had a full head of hair if he wouldn't have been in that situation. But I mean, that's completely out of your control, and that's fair enough. And you deal with that as you would. But I don't know. Like, I think that'd be devastating.
Yeah, I think a surprising number of people that I spoke to about it are just saying that they are aware that they are denying it's happening, which to me is quite interesting, because either you're denying it's happening or you're aware it's happening. Not being aware you're denying it's happening seems quite the step. But what can you say? What I would also say is I've got a friend who has recently come back from teaching abroad. He, shout out Joe Pacey. He presumably up until he got back was so he's quite a tall man. Where he teaches, they are traditionally quite a lot shorter. Just so it's very rare that people see the top of his head. However, he's come back and he is very much fighting a losing battle, shall we say? So he has took the big step and shaved it all off, and I think that's part of that is the worst part. The worst part is deciding that you're going to do it and shaving it off.
Yeah.
But once it's done, I mean, he looks miles better. He's So.
Did you say what's he called? What's he called? Joe what?
Joe Pacey.
Pacey. All right. I thought it was Joe Perry, because I mean, I was like, I know a Joe Perry. I'm pretty sure he's been abroad for ages. I was very confused then, because I was like, that guy's got a full head of hair. That makes no sense.
Not anymore.
If anyone doesn't know, like me and Matthew will live about 20 minutes away. in a car. We're from the same-ish area.
Yeah.
We're not from the same friendship groups when we were younger. We only know each other because of the place we work, which is weird because in theory we probably should have known each other before this, but for some reason we didn't.
Well, this is it. I mean, we're very close geographically, but it's the difference. It's an Aladdin and Princess Jasmine situation, isn't it? With you.
Who's who, by the way?
I don't know, but how is the tiger going over there? Yeah, that's that's the one thing I would say is, I mean, we know a mutual friend of ours is currently in. Well, he's fully aware that he's denying it, isn't he?
Oh no, I'm not even gonna. We shouldn't call him out either on it, but we should.
No, I mean, I feel like
that,
yeah.
We know him through a mutual building.
Yeah, see. We know who we're talking about. He knows who we're talking about. And when
we're not going to say his name.
Yeah, because I feel like
anyone who's part of the podcast in the first place, didn't we? Really?
Yeah. Anyone who is overly interested, though, you did say his name previously on MCU Guy podcast. Hooray!
Hey, yeah. When did I say it? Oh, yeah, we did say it. Yeah, we did. Yeah,
straight up called him out.
That's a good point.
Straight
up called him out. Oh, yeah, I forgot we did that. That's great. I don't think he listens to that. He's not a big Marvel guy, so I don't think he'll listen to it. It's totally fine.
No.
Totally fine.
He's busy, isn't he? He's all loved up. He's out he's out. He's not. He's locked in his house like the rest of us. But
that's true. Well, Matt, I mean, I don't have anything else to give you on this front, unfortunately. So, do you want to give the guys the email address for how to get in touch with us and the topic that we're going to talk about next month?
I absolutely can do. Yeah, I've just got to find said email address. Right. So, if you want to get in touch with us on Twitter, so that's @Watts_age. No capitals. Didn't put them in. Don't need them. And we do have an email address somewhere. Any clues, Matt? It's I'll tell you next time. I'll put it on Twitter. Follow us on Twitter. You'll find the email address.
Yeah. So, but I mean, if you want to get in contact, you want to talk to us about what we're doing and the topic for next month, then obviously that's the place to be. All our details are on there. Little shout out to the fact that how we're putting this podcast on is part of that Thing You Like network. It's a network full of collaborators. The aim is to find something new for you guys to enjoy and to take on board, especially during this time of isolation. But it's good to get involved in something and start something new and something fresh. So our aim is to try and just find something new people like, whether it's wrestling, whether it's this podcast talking about middle-aged things or fighting off a midlife crisis, whether it's the Marvel Cinematic Universe. We've got guys who are traveling throughout the world. At the moment, they're stuck in Spain, but their plan is to travel the world and document the whole thing. So we've got loads of things that we've got going on. So, I mean, if you could find that thing you like, find that on Twitter and Instagram @TTYL Network. That's the network we're part of, and it's cool that we've got a lot of collaborators. And you'll probably find that a lot of people who do stuff on other shows will probably find their way into this podcast as well. What is the theme for next month then, Matthew?
All right. Okay, so the theme for next month is quite a big one. Essentially, I want to talk to you and anyone else who'll talk to us about it. Music, and specifically how it peaked when we were 20, I would say, 2004-ish, something like that.
2004, that's very specific.
So we were 18, 2004, and it hasn't got any better, and so we should probably just stop making it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It is pop music, it's just noise. It's just noise. Those children need to get off my lawn. Yeah, So we're going to discuss that. A few things. If you've got any questions, anything you'd like us to discuss, by all means, fire it across. If you've got any comments, if you don't want, if you want to be annoyed at us for using your real name, that's fine as well. Just give us a shout.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Bring it on.
I think, to be fair, Matt, that's about all from me.
Cool. That's cool. It's been a pleasure, Matt.
Absolutely.
Obviously, this will not be the normal format, but obviously during the isolation times, we might as well just make the most of it, and we'll catch up next month, and we'll talk about music and, like I said, how it's not got any better since we were wee younglings. So it's been a pleasure. Speak soon. Bye, guys.
Bye.